Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that's to go a little bit more in depth on how to handle the angry narcissist, the raging narcissist, the person really who is relentless in their audacity to be the one with the limelight, the spotlight, the main light, the main show. In other words, the narcissist who has an insatiable need for power and control oftentimes has an insatiable need to be the one who is getting all the attention. In other words, so that there is a very clear demarcation or separation between who is running the show and then who is in the peanut gallery, who is in the audience, who is in the groupie list, who is in the ambiguous other list. In other words, they sort of give people or assign people a role according to their needs. And oftentimes their needs are based on sort of a grandiosity or an entitlement, otherwise known as a pathological sense of self-importance, coupled with a lack of empathy. So these people are not your sort of reflective, humble types. They're not your really compassionate or super good listeners. If anything, they're trying to extract information so that they can use it for manipulation or hurt towards others moving forward. In other words, when they try to rotate or recycle their supply. One thing that's well known about an angry narcissist is that oftentimes they get angry when they are not satisfied with their current supply, meaning the other individual is sort of assigned a unconscious or just sort of a unspoken contract that you must entertain, or you must bloat their ego, or you must puff up their and be supportive of them. Just sort of sacrifice yourself or be the default, be the lower than, be the second or 59th fiddle. And then when they get angry, they don't feel heard, they don't feel seen, they don't have that ego stroke. In other words, they're not flying by the seat of their ego pants, which is really how they like to live. A lot of people do not enjoy being around angry people. Some people like conflict, they like the tension, they like the game. For other people, it gets old, it gets gamey. There's too many winners or losers. There's too many hurtful smacks on down the road just to get to that sort of elevated destination that the narcissist will really promote as sort of the only pinnacle or the only place to go. In other words, it's very exclusive, and you have to sort of command perhaps a membership or appease them, say the code word, the passcode, whatever it is that they then sort of relegate and open the door to let you in. And so that need to control gives them a power trip. And so a narcissist will get very angry if they feel that there is something that is not building up their power, their view of how they would like to be viewed. In other words, the narcissist, they really want to control, I feel, the perceptions of others. View me as this way, treat me as this way, even though there might be evidence to the contrary that they don't necessarily deserve or have warrant of that treatment. In other words, they've hurt you, they've criticized you, they've talked about your behind your back, they've treated you as a third-rate citizen, and yet they want you to elevate them and then reinforce that you are lower than. So it becomes a very rigid role. And I would really say that in life, rigidity can be a very difficult and obstacle-like experience. In other words, not being able to consider and then seeing specific things and acknowledge your needs, having to placate or live a lie and not being able to say, feeling that you're coming from a place of strength, not from weakness. I need a real heart-to-heart, or I need someone who's humble, or someone who's slower, or, someone who is supportive. In other words, there's this whole cylinder of fuel in a relationship that will take you to different places. And oftentimes, a place with a narcissist might be thrilling, adventurous, titillating, stimulating, might be there for a lot of laughs, a lot of chuckles, a lot of cry, but ultimately it's going to be a lot of drama. And the problem is the split in the road where it's kind of like your up is not their up. Their up is kind of like you're down. It might be continuing a toxic lifestyle that you have sort of grown out of, matured out of. You've ripened. You want to settle down, and then they're still running around like and wherever you find this relationship, sort of things begin to get very caustic, or the narcissist is known for being very combative and argumentative, sort of antagonistic. In other words, sort of not discussing, but always sort of going against, rubbing against until they can wear you away, just like a pair of shoes that's brand new and is too hard and it does not fit you, and you're like, why do I have a blister? Why am I, it's because it's sort of worn you down. So this anger can be the same. In other words, how did you pacify this anger? How did it wear you down? How did it get you to be smaller, more diminutive, inferior? Where did you, sign up for a third-rate citizen? Why did you sign off on that to be okay for yourself? Usually the anger is very controlling and very intimidating, and so they seek to sort of control by inflicting pain. And people then they oftentimes then don't have control because they have not maybe encountered this sort of aberrant or negative behavior. So people get, in a freeze mode, like a fawn mode. They get analysis paralysis, or they just are like a deer in a headlight. They're just sort of stunned and shocked, and then they don't have recourse to proper action. And then when this recurs, people then find that they're dealing with a very uncomfortable or angry narcissist. When things aren't sort of going according to their shell appearance, how they want to be perceived, the narcissist is always trying to sort of control how others perceive them rather than others allowing to have a perception of their own. So this really sort of robs people of their internal I am and sort of being in alignment with their values, and that it's okay, to be who you are. It's okay to be as you are and in your strengths. I mean, that you cannot really begin to go against yourself. And then the anger of the narcissist will always, can cause people to go and act against themselves, break themselves down, sabotage themselves, would make all sorts of mistakes, whether it's financial mistakes, emotional mistakes, bad decisions on this, not able to think clearly. And, and that, becomes a real problem. It causes a lot of trouble for people. So, when this occurs, realize that oftentimes it's a power shift. And oftentimes talking about supply or who, the narcissist gets their feedback from, realize that they will get bored with certain supply and then sort of make it known. And then this is where it's just like, you're too predictable, or you're, basically, which is narcissist code for you're too stable, you're too committed, you care about me too much. A narcissist, they don't want to interact at that heart-to-heart, gut-to-gut level if they can at all help it. They want to appear different. They want to appear as if. They have a goal, if you will, which is their public persona, how they want to be viewed. And then behind closed doors, in the car, in the closet, wherever it is, they can be very, very different people. And they don't oftentimes want to show other people that or discuss that. They will avoid that at all costs because it doesn't meet their, ego falsetto, if you will. And so then if this is not going their way, this is when you're going to see that narcissistic anger. They'll say hurtful and angry things. It's too boring. You're too predictable. This is too, in other words, they try to then, say that you're too boring, which is, or you're too predictable. In other words, there's the disappointment, there's the devalue and then discard. but then who will, come running back, once they've sort of burned out their ego, they've, sown their oats there. But what's interesting is that, you have to remember that a lot of people feel insult to heart, that they are too stupid, too boring, not interesting, not rich enough, not tall enough, not short enough, not this, your fingernails aren't long enough, your skin isn't the right, tone of ivory or tone of toffee, whatever the issue is, there's always usually some external locus of control that is really, you cannot make your life about appeasing that, because it will be unsustainable. It will cause too much struggle. You'll feel like you're wasting time and energy, or you're not really in alignment. You're not really having in your hands what you feel that you should have. Things feel off, communication, outings, whatever. So realize that oftentimes that lambasting or criticism, is just their way of just sort of venting their own problems and making it appear as if you are inadequate. Because if you can go away with your tail between your legs, with a tissue, feeling that you are too boring, which is code really for, you're grounded, you're committed, you want the real thing. You want me to be honest. You want me to be forthright. The narcissist will sort of live a lie, if you will. They want to appear as if, and then they're usually very embarrassed about their true self, which you really should not have a lot of shame about who you are. You're setting yourself up, you're just walking on coal. You're putting yourself on a coal bed. So back off of the coal bed and realize that people get very addicted to that level of agitation, and realizing that how to look at that and understand the narcissist anger. Oftentimes it's very pointed, very sardonic, caustic, meaning, and it's very short-lived or very superficial. And it's usually based on a false accusation, which couldn't be further from the truth. But if it's convenient for them, they'll just continue to use that same material again and again. If it's worked before, they will continue. And then so the narcissist ball gets bigger, and then your pile gets smaller. So this is then how they have this sort of gravitational pull or power vacuum. So the anger, I feel, is when they feel that they're being perceived as normal, or maybe, having a humanness, what they might consider a flaw, something that they're trying to distract for, something that they don't want you to notice. They're going to try to sort of pull and control your perception, where that's not very healthy. You need to be able to control your own perception and be able to think for yourself. A lot of people discover this at some point in the narcissist relationship, that one does need to think and advocate and protect oneself and know their values and their stance, especially as it is around the positive and not as it's always sort of reflected on the negative by an angry narcissist. Usually so that they will use that as a stepping stone to sort of elevate themselves. And usually it's on one's back, or on, one's strength are made to appear as one weakness, or they'll just sort of try to twist and turn things around. Meaning, you're being serious and they're saying, oh, you were just being playful. You were being playful, and they're saying, oh, well, you're serious. When it was very obvious that either, you're very committed to this person, and they thought, oh, well, gosh, how could we be serious when, in other words, they do that sort of bait and switch, that Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, the cognitive dissonance. And then people then second guess themselves. Was I serious? And you were committed, you were in love. You were having fun, and you were being playful. You knew that you were preparing for the real thing, and then they try to convince you of otherwise. So be careful that the anger is really designed to sort of knock your truth out of your own hand. So don't allow that to be. Realize what you hold on to, and really own that truth and become empowered by that. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony. I hope these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.